You have entered the realm of dead air. For the next 2 hours, you will be transported into the world of the strange and the supernatural. You might not feel the need to cleanse your laptops or mobile devices afterwards. But it might not be a bad idea.
George, the ball you put on top of the steps last night rolled down the bottom of the stairs. Did you catch it on film?
No, I turned the camera off before I went to bed.
Even the best of us makes mistakes from time to time. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Dead Air Live on the Dead Air Full Spectrum channel on our Sunday night show each and every week at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We are simulcast with KGRA, but he's still moving. He's still moving. My God.
Oh,
Ken, the show's on. The show started.
Hey, what's going on?
We are simulcast with KGRADB.com, KGRA on Facebook. My name is George Lopez, and moving and shaking up in Rhode Island, Mr. Ken DeCosta. This is, I believe, your 7th home in 2 years. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm on the lam right now.
Witness protection program, I think.
I moved to Bristol, Rhode Island, but, I've been thrown out of better places than this. Actually, beautiful place. Absolutely gorgeous, historic town, and the town that hosts the oldest 4th of July celebration in the United States. Huh?
Really?
Oh, yeah.
We're doing it. We're doing it right here. So, everybody joining us tonight, I want to say thank you and welcome for anybody new that's popping into our chat or listening again on KGRA. We took last week off for Thanksgiving. I hope everybody had a wonderful holiday. I hope it wasn't too cold in your neck of the woods, or in our case, too rainy here in Florida. But we had a couple of cold days. We're back into the 80s again, and we'll drop back down. So this is our cold and flu season just as much. But we went round and round about what we were going to do after the holiday. And one of the biggest things is that, Ken and I, when we did the show 2 weeks ago, and it was a monumental show, we had some phenomenal guests, and we talked things that are current events within the field and within the social media. And one of the things that I had mentioned at the beginning of last week's show was Ken DeCosta and George Lopez's history in the field. You know, how we've gotten to the level of being able to make judgment calls on what we think happens to be legitimate paranormal phenomena or not. And it's based upon running the gambit. And, that's just coming out of our mouths, saying it to you. Well, if you're a first-time viewer, you haven't been following Ken's career with his group, Rise of Paranormal, or mine with my old group, Port Orange Paranormal Society, or doing it solo, then you're just taking our word for it. So we wanted to provide a little bit more for you tonight, talking about some of the evidence that we have collected over the years. And we got a little bit more to add to that as well tonight. Don't we, Ken?
Yeah, we do. We're going to get into different aspects of this and have a little fun with it. Talk a little bit about the field and where it may be going. And if you saw our thumbnail, so ably done by Aaron Bush, there are 2 paths you can go by, but in the long run, there's still time to change the road you're on. I just made that up. That's mine. So what path are you on as an investigator, as an enthusiast, as a believer, as a skeptic? So we're going to get into that a little bit tonight and give you an overview with graphics and photos and a lot of video, how we have gone about our business. And in doing so, we'll be self-critical because some of this is a little bit older stuff, and it sort of talks about the evolution of people who have been in this for a very long time. So that would be that would be us. Not being the final word on everything, but just a little bit of a look as to what really propelled us to do a show like this and to comment on various things. So maybe a little bit of insight on that tonight, but I promise you we'll have a good time doing it. Stick
Now,
around for this. This is going to be fun.
now we've been learning a lot more about social media, and one of the things that seems very, very successful out there is reaction videos. So we need reactors tonight, Ken. Is there anybody that you could think of that could join us tonight to react to the incredible evidence that we're going to present for this evening?
There's a couple of people I thought of tonight that would likely give us a hard time about this, and they're both friends of the channel. They're both pretty objective, and they have no problem either cussing at us and calling it the way they see it.
Oh, shit.
The first person we're going to do live directly from the great state of Florida is Erin Bush again. She's here. Erin joins us again.
Yeah.
And also a paranormal investigator, a stand-up comedian. There's no such thing as a former member of Rise Up. He's always on call if we need him right now. But one of the most objective and skeptical investigators that I've had the pleasure of working with tonight. So we're interested in getting his insight on that. And that would be none other than Tom Stewart.
Hello. Always in the bullpen, ready to go.
Also, the creator of My Paranormal Story podcast. If you haven't listened to it yet, shame on you, but we'll get a link up there. Tom does an excellent job. He's a tremendous storyteller relating experiences that he's had in his life individually and as part of a team. So welcome back, Tom.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be back.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting show to say the least. But what we wanted to do first and foremost, so we can get a little bit of take, I need each of you on the count of three to give your best shock reaction video on screen, so that if anybody's going to take from us and do a reaction to our reactions or to our evidence, that they'll put you on the thumbnail. So best reaction face right now, 1, 2, 3. We're in trouble, Ken.
We got the skeptic and we've got the
super skeptic. Yeah,
shock.
We're in trouble.
She's the shock.
Either I'm
I'm the
supposed to
awe.
run off screen, but that's not good for thumbnails. So I figured
Right.
I'd stay in my seat.
Yeah.
Well, what I want to do is kind of embellish a little bit more on what I said last week. I talked about Ken's obsession with this field for so many years, but Ken, give him a little bit of ammunition, if you will. What you have done for the past 50 years as a paranormal investigator.
Ooh, okay, I'll give you the Cliff Notes version of it. Always interested in this kind of stuff when I was a kid. I don't consider research to be watching in search of or reading magazines about UFOs or things like that. I don't consider that research. It was just building an interest in the topics. I really didn't start to get into this until I was about 18 and I had my own car, and I was able to occasionally, because nobody wanted to share stories with some goofy 18-year-old, I was able to visit places and go and talk to people that had experiences or knew of haunted locations. And every once in a while, we got lucky. We were able to get into a couple. I dragged a couple of my friends with me, God bless them. Probably back when we were kids, did more to scare ourselves than anything else. But and from there, it became kind of like a lifelong interest in between a lot of sports I played and a lot of normal kid things. But this was kind of my baby as far as my go-to. So this year had marked 49 years. February of next year will be hitting the big 5-0 as far as the amount of time I've spent in this, and try to evolve and keep learning about these things. In 2007, I founded Rise Up Paranormal. And that's how it got started as far as being a team concept, where we brought in a lot of people with a lot of different backgrounds and disciplines, whether it was engineering, the medical profession, the defense contractors, mechanics, everybody, people who were in media like Tom. Everybody brought a different type of thing to it, and it was done that way on purpose. We try to get as many points of view, so we didn't have a lot of people just nodding their head yes, agreeing with each other. It was always respectful and friendly, but we kept each other in check, and that's just exactly the way I wanted it to be. And that's what I've been kicking around for the last 49 years. And we've had the good fortune to visit a lot of different places, innumerable strange places, from theaters to schools to military bases to battleships to insane asylums, mansions, everything in between that normally they wouldn't let a guy like me even have a sniff of. But if you tell them that you're a paranormal investigator, they welcome you in. Who knew? Who knew? So I got my years in, kind of paid the dues and everything like that. Sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong, but it's always interesting. I don't know about the destination, but the journey's been great. So in a nutshell, that's what I've been up to.
Yeah, I mean, still very, very jealous of some of the places that you were able to embark to see, including going on to, correct me if I'm wrong, a battleship.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Couple of them,
incredible.
actually. Yeah. A couple of them that are publicly open. The military base was something a little bit different. That was kind of on the QT. I'm not going to mention what it was, but, security checks and stuff like that, because like anything else, just like someone's home, a residence, I mean, we've probably hit legitimately 1,000 cases. I don't know when. There wasn't a big anniversary for it, but throughout the Northeast and the Eastern Seaboard, probably 1,000 places. And there are some even publicly that want to keep it on the down low, because they don't want it to get out. So we've always been very, very good about honoring that type of thing, and always really taking it seriously when someone entrusts us with things they won't even tell their family or their neighbors or their coworkers, but yet as a total stranger, they'll call you up and just tell you their story.
Yeah.
And that to me means more than anything. We take that responsibility very, very seriously. And sometimes it's a little crazy, but other times people just want somebody to listen. And we're more than happy to do that and make suggestions. So we're not just, YouTube influencers, or so they say. We are still an active paranormal team and helping anybody that would like a second opinion or a little bit of clarity on what's going on with them. So, yeah, and here we are.
Exactly. As I said 2 weeks ago, my story is a little bit different from Ken's, actually quite a bit. Moving up from South Florida to Central Florida, and St. Augustine was 30 minutes from my doorstep, and I just became immersed with going to some of these incredibly haunted locations in that small little city, the oldest plotted city in the United States. Anyway, From that point on, I just happen to have the time and the means to do some insane traveling. And I said I kind of rode the gauntlet hard from the beginning. And just to give you a bit of a rundown, and this is all I could come up with in my mind, so you guys have kind of a list. Curse City, which we'll touch upon tonight, St. Augustine Old Jail, multiple times. As a matter of fact, one of the EVPs we caught is on the trolley tour. Aaron had a chance to experience, but on the trolley tour, they say this particular EVP, and we'll play that later, in St. Augustine Old Spanish Military Hospital, the Stanley Hotel multiple times, Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, Myrtle's Plantation multiple times, Waverly Hills Sanatorium, Rolling Hills Asylum, Eastern State Penitentiary, Lizzie Borden House, the Black Swan Inn in San Antonio, Bobby Mackey's Music World, Sorrel Weed House in Savannah, Georgia, including and also the Moon River Brewery. Of course, the Payne House, where Ken and his crew, Rise of Paranormal, have frequented many times. The Biltmore Hotel in Tampa, Gettysburg, New Orleans, all over the place. Seven Sisters Inn was my backyard. Green Cove Jail, the Last Resort Bar in Daytona, which is or was the hangout for Eileen Wuornos, the serial killer from the movie Monster, and residential cases, more than I could possibly even begin to remember. But that was a different story too, where I broke away from that, whereas Ken and Rise Up continued to assist. I was finding out too quickly that the scariest part of the paranormal to the living, and there's some crazy people out there. And I eventually dissolved that group and just went on a trek of my own, where I wound up meeting more and more people doing this Dead Air show for the last 15 years and getting very, very close with them, from an Andrea Perrin to a John Zavis to a Nick Groff. So, yeah, I guess the final part of it is that it afforded me the chance to go out and hone my skill, which I needed to do very, very rapidly if I were to be reputable in this field, which is all. Ken, correct me if I'm wrong, but reputation is everything when it comes to this field.
Yeah, I mean, that's really all we have to work on. There's no certifications, although they do exist if you take a few of those classes, but it's not an accredited course or anything like that. A lot of people love to say there are no experts in the field, and that's fine. You can have that. But I think there are people who, through their own experiences, have gained a lot of insight, especially when dealing with people. That is paramount to me. To be a people person, to be able to listen and disseminate information, separate the wheat from the chaff, and you only gain that, through listening and hearing different stories. And that comes with time, because I think we're all very enthusiastic when we start this. And it's not that we become cynical, but we tend to pick up cues, whether it's audibly listening to a story or body language or something like that. And we're able to kind of pick which cases we think are credible and legitimate and are willing to entertain those. I have a question for you, George. When did you fold that group?
Oh God, I want to say about 6 years after I started it. Yeah, so 2006, 2012, there and abouts. I decided to say bye-bye.
It's funny. That is kind of the golden age of paranormal television. I wonder if there's a correlation between. I found that the people that we meet now residentially do an awful lot of self-diagnosis on themselves based on TV shows, and that's always difficult, because they immediately want research and investigation, a reveal, and they run through it, and we haven't even decided if their case is worth looking into. But I suppose knowledge is a good thing, and too much of it is maybe not so much. But I find that funny that the paradigm shift with residences, where we do nowhere near the amount. When I say we would get 2 week, Tom can back me up on this. There was always something going on. So I don't know if people are taking it upon themselves or they just feel they're armed with better information to deal with it now. And if they are, God bless them.
I
But
think it's 50-50 on that. I think, again, going back to what we presented 2 weeks ago on the show, but I think, again, a lot of people are armchair quarterbacks for this field, and they're able to look at a video, again, a two-dimensional video, and be able to make an uneducated decision as to whether or not it's something that's real, fake, or otherwise. I want to ask our guests tonight exactly this. Both who have been out to haunted locations on numerous occasions, have had their own personal experiences. From a chair position such as you're in right now, I'll ask Aaron first. What, if anything, can you look at without scrutinizing it on a computer screen, evidence that is presented to you? Is there anything at all, or is it just the way that it is because you have to physically be there to validate what it is you're experiencing?
I think I come from kind of a weird perspective too, because as a sensitive, I mean, I can be watching someone's evidence video and I'm picking up on the spirits in the room from my side of the screen. But I think generally, yeah, it's you got to be there in a lot of situations, and it's, you know, everything is up for debate. Everything is up to be, you know, completely scrutinized one side and down the other. But I think it's also based on a belief. You know, what do you believe? You know, to me, it's kind of as simple as that. Doesn't mean you follow everything blindly that you think might be. You know, you got to have some ounce of like skepticism in your brain, because if you believe everything you're told or hear, that's a bigger problem for a totally different show. But I do think that you can sort of intuit a lot of things as well on a video screen, but that's how tapped into you are how tapped into that are you from the beginning? And how much do you really want to believe it? So I think it depends on the person too. Long way around that answer, but there we are.
And Tom, what's your take on it, Tom?
I've had to get better over the years of poo-pooing on people's so-called experiences that they show me. I'm just like, if I wasn't there to experience it, I just can't take that leap, because it's not even just about the experience, but about being there, knowing what the conditions were like. What was the situation? Was it a contained environment? What, you know, equipment were you using? Was the equipment maintained? All those specific things I don't have any knowledge of, and I'm just taking someone's word on it, you know? Like, it wasn't raining. Well, it looks like a raindrop on your lens to me. I don't know what to tell you. Maybe it was raining, you didn't feel it. Like, there's just so many questions that can't be answered. So I've gotten better at not telling people, yeah, that's not real. I just say, what do you think it is? And then I just kind of let them go with that. Because people are proud of their experiences and they like to show them off. And I don't like being that bad guy anymore, telling them that it's probably nothing real or paranormal or anything.
do you find, I didn't mean to step on you there, Tom, but do you find that we are in such a culture now, technologically, with Photoshop, video enhancement, software, that by looking at so many things that are dubious, we have become very cynical in terms of any video that we see? We were talking about it today. And I've said this for a long time. If you showed me 100 pieces of video and I eventually got numb and desensitized to looking at something that easily could have been hoaxed or somehow modified, and we've seen them all. Out of that 100, there may be one piece submitted that could be the absolute most incredible thing we've ever seen, but you immediately put it on that pile because there's just so much of it being thrown at us right now. And it's good to be skeptical, but to me, skepticism and cynicism are kind of two different animals.
Yeah. If it's being displayed publicly for likes and comments, that's the first red flag for me. Because, people are addicted to that serotonin hit from seeing all those likes going up. So they're tempted to embellish something or even as much as fake it with some CGI or whatever. I mean, you can do this stuff easily on your phone now. The technology has come so far, so fast. So, you can go on TikTok or YouTube at any time and see all kinds of paranormal videos. And there's just no way to know if any of this really happened or if it was made up or if there was circumstances we don't know about.
Yeah.
I would also venture to say, guys, that, I know for me, from my experience, whether it was the TV shows or other people who had been to certain locations, posted evidence, and just simple conversation talked about it, it piqued my curiosity about a location and then said, yes, I want to go there and see if I have the same experience they did. And looking at the list that I posted up beginning of the show there, I mean, there were some famously haunted locations, notoriously. And many of those locations, I was able to capture evidence, have a personal experience. And that's what I think it comes down to across the board. We talked ad nauseum 2 weeks ago about Cody and Satori and all of our personal experiences being around them, personal, in person, in front of them, where everybody else that's tearing them apart are, third person viewers. They just are looking at videos and don't have that impact of being present with them when, as Tom was talking about, walks from behind him all the way into the room, or Ken was walking in circles. There's just nothing that can replace the personal experience, no matter what you post out there. That being said, we've got evidence that we want to present to you tonight. Things that over the years Ken and I have both collected, so that you can scrutinize and rip them apart. But again, I want to go ahead and turn it over to Ken first. I know there's some things. I don't know if you wanted to go with those graphs first, Ken, or you want to go right down the evidence road. It's completely up to you.
Yeah, I think we'll set some of this up by telling you what they're saying about you as a population. So the first thing we want to show you, who believes in the paranormal? And some of these may surprise you. This is a poll taken. It seems like people who live in the cities are more prone to believe than those who live in the suburbs and in the country. And this particular generation, I find this interesting. Baby boomer, which I guess we fall into, George, 35% at the low end.
Yeah.
Gen X, millennials, a little bit more. So it seems like the younger you are, the more apt you're to actually believe in the paranormal. And I'm not sure. I can only speculate what maybe social media has to do with that.
Oh, yeah.
But it seems to me really because those people are probably less religious than others. So they don't have that type of thing with the supernatural, but it's interesting. Next poll I want to show, have you tried to remove ghosts or spirits from your home? 48% say yeah, and they were successful.
Okay.
43% tried but were unsuccessful. So that's pretty close. It's close to a 50-50 split. And 9% of them said the hell with it. No, I didn't even bother. So we'll run through this real quick. What are they experiencing? At the top of the list, voices and objects moving on their own. And then it kind of goes down from there, apparitions, 28%, and the usual music, lights, power, cabinets opening themselves, disembodied shadows, etc., and so forth.
Kind of
But
even.
at the top of the list seems to be voices and object manipulation. So going on, pets acting weird and so forth, we go objects levitating, and so forth and so on. It runs the gamut of the typical things that people will report. And they're all pretty close. I mean, 22% to 30%. It seems like all of the claims that people make are pretty close to the typical things that we hear when we do our interviews. And as far as this goes, what have they done? Bought a security camera. I think that's pretty common sense. Pretty much common sense right there. You know, you don't know if there's an intruder. Used holy water. That is more of a religious bent. That's kind of a surprise up there. Check security camera for debris. Way to go. And then we're tied. Ghost hunters are tied with burning sage and incense somewhere. I'm not sure. I'm not, but we are above slightly contacting a medium, so we're still in the ball game there. Learn more about the history of the building. It's funny because some of these things come right from the TV shows, you know, doing the research on the building, etc. and so forth, security cameras. And then finally learn more about the property. Attempted to communicate. Okay. Contacted a religious authority, you know, priest, so forth, sold the home.
Those are the dead file clients. Yeah.
And then finally just tore the sucker down. That is 18%. So that would be Zach Bagans and a couple of other people probably.
There we go.
On that poll. So that gives you an idea of what you, the public, kind of thinks about this. And how you fall, whatever category you fall into. But some of those I think are unsurprising, but there were quite a few that I found very surprising, particularly the age and the idea where a lot of people seem to be doing things on their own. And I applaud them for that rationally, security cameras and so forth. Don't immediately assume it's a ghost, could be an intruder. But it kind of runs the gamut of paranormal activity, recourses that people take to resolve their problems, and so forth. But, you know, like ghost hunters, we're way down on the list now. I'm going to be out of work pretty soon.
Yeah. We're being eliminated. Now, I think a lot of those graphs have to do with the television shows and movies and the internet. A lot of these Gen Zers, millennials, I mean, they grew up watching ghost hunters. They grew up watching Ghost Adventures. They, you know, since they were little kids, these shows have been on most of their lives. And so I think it's a heavy influence on them. And I think that's why, you know, the younger age believes more. I think that's why more people are doing things themselves, handling it themselves, you know. And I think, you know, 3 out of every 5 people have been part of a paranormal team at one point or another in the past 10 years. So, you know, all those numbers kind of make sense to me.
Yeah, I think so. I think a big part of it, though, tends to be that, again, people are looking for their niche in social media also. You know, there are those who are, you know, foodies, and they deal with, you know, posting videos or shots of the food and places that they're dining at. Others, it's clothing, but there is a contingent there, and it's quite successful, as we have seen in the social media for ghost hunting, whether it's legitimate and the investigators try to do things on the up and up, to the ones that are just plainly and blatantly faking the evidence because of the sensationalism. But it certainly got its corner out there, and you can't escape it. No matter where you go, it's going to pop up somewhere. It's incredible.
Can I say something too about the TV stuff? I think what I find interesting working at the Conjuring House is because all these people are watching these shows, you know, and obviously you have YouTube shows, you've got podcasts. I think what's concerning to me with this is, you know, you have this odd dichotomy of you've got, you know, your YouTubers and your podcasts and all that, and not all of them, but most of them, the goal is to get as many subscribers and likes as you possibly can. Kind of fact and information goes out the window. But then you have these people who are watching these things and completely unaware that these people have done zero research. They're not fact checking. They're just saying whatever scary, clickbait word, demon, whatever it is. Do you think that there's a way, or at some point in the future, that we're going to be able to kind of close that gap and because I always try to explain to people, like, if you watched a show on YouTube, you owe yourself, if you really want to learn about a location, learn about a haunting, to do some research and don't take that as bond. Like, you know what I'm saying? Watching all these different shows, because, if you hear demon in a title before the show's even started, you kind of know what direction this is going. But how do you close that gap, getting people to understand that, yes, some of this information is true, but there isn't a demon in every haunted house in this country, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you see what I'm saying? Like, get people to do more of their own research and give themselves the benefit to learn more about a place, as opposed to just taking all that information from one spot.
Well, the biggest qualm people had about paranormal TV, some claim that people hoax things. They still make that claim. They embellish things. It's all for entertainment. It's all for ratings. It's all for, ads, building an audience. YouTube has kind of taken that over and in many ways surpassed that in terms of subscribers, likes, views. So it's a variation on the same theme. In both cases, I see a lot of performance art going on. Is anybody really that frightened? If I've done 500 YouTube videos where I'm investigating different reputedly haunted locations all over the country, all over the world, whatever the case may be, by number 500, am I still jumping out of my shorts when I hear a noise?
Right.
It's counterintuitive to me. Maybe when you're starting out, like, oh my God, something happened. Now what do we do? But after going to these places, after a while, I think you kind of are a little calmer and a little more reasoned than that. So,
right.
That's just my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, the true fact of the matter is, again, a lot of what we see out there has been promulgated. It has been modeled over the shows, depending upon which one is the favorite of the individual doing it. And case in point, with Ghost Adventures, Zach always, Aaron, go to the basement. You're going to go by yourself. Dude, you're going to go by yourself. And there were a couple of people who made parodies of that, Dakota Layden being one of them, who wound up being famous from it. But, it's that same kind of thing yet. Oh, we're going to go down to the basement. The Conjuring House basement alone. Should we go together? And let's build it up, because it sells the interest. It sells for the viewers. And that's fine and good. Where I think Ken and I come from, and I'm sure same thing with Tom and with Aaron, is that, the interest here and the evidence we're going to present to you guys is going back almost a decade, if not more. And in those circumstances, it wasn't to put on social media for likes. Do we do some of that now on TikTok? Sure, of course. Just keeping mainstream and trying to keep current, but it doesn't draw in the kind of levels that some of these other YouTubers do. We're also not these young cutesy kind of guys. So, what we do for the passion and love of this field and the things that we've experienced and the hopes for what we get next. Well, yeah, you are looking good, though, Ken. Younger these days, especially after the move. So, anyway, Ken, you want to throw some of your evidence out there? You want to show some of the things you've captured?
I want to go with some photographs first, and we'll make this a little bit fun. I'm going to show you a series of photographs, and you tell me whether, and please weigh in chat, if you think that this is real.
Remember your reaction faces. Reaction faces on standby, guys. Okay.
Reaction faces on standby. This is a photo taken in Austria. There's 2 of them. Here's the first one. And then the second one from a little further away. Now, would you say that that is something that's compelling, or you just think it's misidentified or out and out fake?
I'm going to go with, I don't know. It looks like it could be misidentified. That looks very similar to the Starlink that people are seeing these days. It could be some sort of a, who knows, plane or some sort of an aircraft or something, a blimp or something. It's so hard to tell a story with one or two quick pictures, so it's hard to judge.
Okay, Aaron, what do you think?
I agree with Tom. I think, and especially, I love UFOs, and so I'm fascinated by pictures like that. But I agree with Tom. There's not enough context. There's not enough photos. There's not enough context at all. Really, I guess is what it boils down to for me. So I could go either way.
Okay. Well, what I can tell you on that, it was taken by a friend of ours who was visiting Austria, who doesn't have a dog in the UFO fight at all. And this wasn't a reflection in the window. This is something he and his partner, when they were standing on a building as tourists at night, just saw this in the sky. And, I know everybody wants video, but you get what you get sometimes. So I think they legitimately think they saw something odd, but I think that there are alternate explanations for that. I want to show you another one. This one was sent to me from a gentleman in Georgia.
Oh, snap.
That to me just looks like something that's close to the lens, a bug, debris, something like that. It doesn't look like anything paranormal to me.
Right.
Okay, so we're not going with spaceship. Do you think it's a misidentification of some sort?
No, I don't even think that's like a ship or anything. No.
Right.
Well, you might be surprised to know that's actually a bird.
Oh, a bird. Okay.
Nice.
That is a bird. That's a bird that's banking. Okay. We kind of took it apart. This isn't an idea where somebody was trying to hoax somebody. This is something we run into, a legitimate misidentification of something. Because the story was he was out there with his grandkids. He was just taking pictures of the lake. And you can see the thing isn't centered on the photo. It's over to the left, but it came into view. And gentleman was excited about it. But sometimes people just innocently misidentify things. All right, I'm going to show you another one here. Is this misidentification? Is it technical glitch? Or is this something really weird?
Definitely weird.
It's definitely weird. But
and you definitely want to, jump to a shadow, but.
Right. I guess for me, this is where my lack of experience comes in. I haven't been in this field that long, but that's what I find interesting too, is it's easier to misidentify when you don't have the kind of experience working with this sort of stuff as you guys do.
Yeah.
So I think this is an important lesson for all of us too,
Yeah.
But that could be a shadow or a guy on his phone.
Yeah, I feel like it could be a camera malfunction or something to do with the flash. I'm just glad that whatever it is, it seems to be exiting the room.
So that was taken at the Payne House, and what it is in flash photography, the camera does not have enough light. Two things are at play. Number one, this is a living person who's in motion, hence the blur. And because of the absence of light, the camera is searching for light. And this is where you get a lot of shadow figures with the absence of visible light. So the result of that sometimes is something like this, which immediately people get excited about. And I can understand why, but this is where you take a deep breath and you say, okay, let's run through this. I don't think you're trying to fake anything. I don't think you're trying to put one over on me. And then this is what I tell you to bang off when you try to give them a technical explanation. Well, you weren't there. You don't. Well, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to show you,
you
another
can't poo-poo
one.
On these things.
Yeah.
Right.
This No, would you say, Aaron?
Oh, I was just laughing and agreeing with Tom. Like, yeah, you can't poo-poo on that. Yeah.
All right. Now, here's a common error. This is taken with a full spectrum camera. So tell me what you think is going on here.
You get a lot of those pictures with the full spectrum cameras, it seems. If you ask me, that's like a shutter speed light issue there.
Well, you would be exactly right, because that is literally a person walking in front of the camera. And they look transparent because they're in motion. And when you're using an incredibly slow shutter speed, those kind of things happen, which is why I always tell people, if you have like a sport mode on a camera, that's what you want to switch to if you're doing spirit photography. But I think we've all seen, 1,000 pictures like that, where, and it's the aperture. All of you at home, if you do me a favor, we're all going to play along. I want you to hold your finger out in front of you like this, stare directly at your finger for 3 seconds, okay? Now I want you to move it as close to your eyes, put it on the bridge of your nose. Can you see through your finger, or what appears to be seeing through your finger? Okay.
Right.
It's an illusion. Well, one of the other problems I think that's happening these days is a lot of people, a lot of investigators too, are relying on their cell phones to capture pictures and videos, and and the phone companies have done a very good job of convincing us that these tools on our phones are superior, and they're really not compared to an actual handheld digital camera. So, a lot of that stuff, you have to take that into consideration too.
But I'll tell you what, though, in fairness, some of these cell phone cameras are pretty remarkable when you're getting a 12, 15 megapixel. It's pretty good.
Oh, sure. But you got to remember that, the device isn't being designed for photographing ghosts. It's for selfies. And, you're going to be holding the camera most times, and you're going to have a natural shake when you're holding that camera. The camera itself has other functions that interfere. There's just so many things involved that it's just not, to me, not the right tool to be using for paranormal investigation.
And to let everybody know, these aren't pictures we pulled off the internet. These are something that's either at a location we visited or on a case we were at, or, they're closer to home. So we've had to answer these same questions. Let me give you another one now. Is that the face of a woman? See the shadows of the eyes and so forth?
Yeah. Yeah. There's some matrixing going on with the brain there, but no, it just looks like a grate or something with light on the other side of it to me.
Yeah.
Right.
You agree with that, Aaron?
Yeah, hard to see. I mean, those are the ones that are, I think, harder to tell because it's hard to focus on what's behind it. So it's hard to kind of get a clear picture of what's going on.
The pareidolia, is that the word?
Yeah.
Pareidolia.
Real quickly, something about matrixing or pareidolia that you may not know. It's actually a defense mechanism in our DNA, and it goes back to our days as Neanderthals, where humans could take chaotic shapes and make sense of them to be able to perceive a potential threat. Back in Neanderthal days, to be able to see a face and immediately go on high alert that this may be somebody coming into your territory for your food or your mate or whatever the case may be. And we've never lost that. That essentially is what matrixing and pareidolia, the origins of how we still have that. If you look at a cloud intellectually, you know it's a cloud, but you say that cloud looks like a duck. Right. And another interesting thing is these Rorschach blots, where they show them to you and say, tell me what you think. Oddly, when you show them to children, they choose animals, and adults tend to be more faces. We have those blinders up. So this is sort of in our genetic code, and all it is a defense mechanism. Okay. All right, couple more here before we bring George back in. He's got a lot of video we want to run through. Tell me about this one.
Interesting one.
Yeah. This was sent in by our friend Jay McRae, Tom.
Oh yeah. It feels like a double exposure type of a thing, or a mirroring type of a exposure, something like that to me. Something photography wise.
Yeah.
Would be my guess.
Immediately, I would go for that, especially with the white of the whatever those are, daisies, or somehow refracting the light. Anybody in chat have a definitive? I've seen these kind of things before. Where it looks like a mirror thing, but
yeah, it just looks like the same shape as the child, but mirrored.
Yeah, to a degree. I'm going to, I'll keep an open mind on this one because of who sent it in.
Yeah.
And no, Joey, I mean, as far as the person who sent it being credible, he wouldn't waste his time photoshopping anything.
No.
I'm not sure Jay knows how to do it anyway.
But when people send pictures like that to us, there's usually a personal thing behind it.
Yeah.
And so you kind of have to just go along with and just tell them, oh yeah, that's very interesting. What do you think it is? And just kind of let them believe it, because there's no harm,
Let it go. And now I'm going to show you the last one: real, fake, or misidentified. What I see looks like someone looking toward the wall with his back to the camera.
I feel like I've seen this picture before.
I think
it's.
I see the front of someone.
I think it's misidentification to me. I don't think it's a fake. I don't think they meant it to be a fake, but I don't know how much they believe in it and just get a kick out of people thinking it might be something paranormal.
Well, and this is one of those photos too, where it's like the more you look at it, the more you start seeing other faces in it, right? Like just looking at it, I can see what would be probably mistaken as 4 or 5 faces, right? Where it's just like you said, your brain is starting to catch up and adjust, right?
Yeah.
So here's the story that was taken by one of us on a Rise Up investigation. We were sitting in the living room. There was a noise. Someone snapped a picture, and that's what came out of it. The only 2 people downstairs. That's not a person. There was no one in the kitchen area. We were sitting on the living room floor.
Yeah, I remember this case now.
Yeah, so it was private residence, so we'll end that there.
Yeah, the picture matched up with some of the claims too, which was what was really interesting about it.
And there were other claims that had to do with that room. Yeah, I'm not going to say that particular person because no one knows who the heck it is. But that wasn't. I mean, I will give you misidentification. No one is infallible here. Okay, but in terms of there was somebody there, and no, there was no one there at the time. So probably the most interesting out of them. We're going to be going to break. On the other side, we're coming back, and we're going to look at some of the video George has up, and I at least have to get to one that I know Tom is going to be very interested in, that he hasn't seen in about 15 years. So, George, if you will, please.
Yes, and we've got just enough time. I don't have much as far as the pictures. There's only one photo that I wanted to present because I still find this one fascinating, and it's one of my Achilles heel locations, certain areas of this building. I tried to go down, but each time my heart would race and I would get a shortness of breath. And there's a further story to it also, but this was taken at the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. And again, I've been there multiple times, but this was pretty unique. And I've got 4 different versions of this shot. Here's the original shot. Now, the lady that's standing in the middle, I want you to look to the right of her and about 10, 12 feet back, and you see a form, a shape in that corner, right in that area right there. And as we were able to sharpen it and bring it forward, it looks as though it's a woman in a old beginning of the 20th century nurse's garment. As you can see there, the long flowing to the bottom dress there, and then you can look back to the left to see it a little bit more distinctly.
Hmm.
Do you? And
With
this
her
is
back
with
to her, right?
could be. I don't see her face. I can't see enough there,
Looks like walking away.
but I can certainly see. And that particular room right there, a lot of the people there who said that they were sensitives, intuitives, were picking up on that room being extremely violent, and this was a violent ward section here as well. So I don't know, again, if this is something that is residual, but I want your guys' take on it. Aaron or Tom, something to say about this one? What are your thoughts?
That's a hard one.
Yeah.
It's so very grainy. Was this an IR camera?
Night shot,
Night
Sony,
shot?
yes.
Yeah. I mean, I always lean towards skeptical, like I said, because when I'm not there, I just don't know. What is the light on the floor behind the woman in the picture?
Exit
What is
sign.
that coming from? It's from the exit sign?
Yeah.
I don't think that has anything to do with the apparition there. But the only thing, if I was going to be a complete skeptic, so like I said, I can't say for sure either way, but it looks like the woman in the picture is holding something that's illuminated, and I feel like that could be casting a reflection onto the camera in the same shape of her body, causing that to the right of her. That would be my only skeptical way of looking at it, possibly.
Sure.
But I'm not a photographer expert. But
Plus, in this
from the
particular
knowledge I
case,
have,
what I'm not doing here is presenting to you multiple shots of the same area so that you can see in her absence that there is nothing standing there either. But
I was hoping you were going to show it walking across the hallway.
There is a light source in front of the woman who we obviously see in the photo, because whoever's taking the picture to the left, their shadow is being cast. And you can see on the door that the light in front of her, behind whoever's taking the picture, is casting his shadow. So I don't know if the door is blocking some of that light, or maybe the angle of the door is reflecting the light on the ground. I think that I would never pass judgment on it. I think it's just victims of dark photography.
yeah,
We've all been there.
anything's possible. We have to go to break. We're actually running about a minute behind, so I know Bill's over there just itching to get us to our break. So we're going to take a break right now. When we come back on the other side, more evidence, including video and audio. And Ken's saying ring the reminder bell and hit that like button, guys. We'll be back in 3 minutes. You're watching Dead or Live on the Dead or Full Spectrum channel. Stay with us.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
As UFO reports come in from around the world, the Mutual UFO Network, MUFON, is there. We continue to explore new cases and build our massive database. We share our information with the world in a number of ways. If you would like to be part of our investigative team, you are always welcome. What could be more exciting than exploring the UFO question firsthand? Join MUFON, find your friends.
Did you know 75% of Americans are chronically You're listening to the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. We provide unparalleled coverage of trending news in the world of ufology, cryptozoology, and paranormal phenomenon. Whether you're watching our video live stream or listening to one of our audio programs, you are getting the best from world-renowned researchers and hosts, guiding you through topics the mainstream won't touch. Miss one of your favorite programs? No problem. Head over to the members area at kgradb.com for access to our massive library of award-winning content. Make contact, stay connected, only at kgradb.com.
Hey guys, welcome back to the second hour of our show tonight. With us, our very special guest, Tom Stewart, Aaron Bush, and we are going through some of the evidence that Ken and I have collected over the years. Ken, I want to ask you before we go any further, too. By the way, again, guys, hit that like button. I want to increase that most definitely. We should be at least in the 10, maybe 20 range. So click the little like button down there for us. Just pretend we're Sam and Colby. But Ken, I wanted to ask you what you meant by the title tonight. Are we on the right path?
Yeah, it's just being able to discern paranormal from rational explanations. Have we just taken the paranormal and be desensitized to it enough where, we just don't care anymore? Is it just an entertainment field now? I mean, both can be true. You can go on paranormal field trips to a location just to get away, have some fun. Or you can have a residential case where you have a family full of anxiety, or like Erin, gives readings to people who may have some issues that they're trying to work through. So I guess there's room for both, but they kind of get crossed to me a little bit, and we've kind of lost that little bit of objectivity because we either go hard one way or we go hard the other way, and there doesn't seem to be open-mindedness or any gray area, and now, we're divided. I'm a hard skeptic. I'm an unquestioned believer, because I've always tried to approach it as a documentarian who tries to put myself in the same position as the people who had the experience. What time was it? Where were you sitting? I'll go sit in the same chair as you. We would put cameras on people and have them retrace their steps through the house while we recorded it from their POV and then reviewed it later, because I'm 6'4". It does me no good if someone's 5'9", as far as their point of view, as far as their angle. So I'm okay with having a good laugh and all the rest of it, but somewhere out in the world, there are still people who take this seriously and understand that we are in the customer service business.
Amen.
So to speak, without making a living off of it or getting paid for it. But there are legitimately some people out there who have some issues with this. Best possible result, George, we figure it out. You got nothing to worry about. That's always been, to me, the best possible outcome. But there are times where we have to pump the brakes, take a step back, and just tell people the truth If the truth is we don't know, you say you don't know. Don't make up something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that if you're going to get involved in this, it's like you eventually got to go one way or the other. You know, if you're all in on entertainment, go. But be forthcoming about it. It's like, listen, I'm trying to entertain you. Okay, fine. Great. Be that. You know, and don't say, well, it's a serious thing and we're out to help people. And it's just kind of like, are you really? I mean, ask yourself the question, you know, when people come to me, like, do you have any advice for a paranormal group? First thing you do for the black t-shirts and the business cards, figure out why you're doing this. Ask yourself that legitimate question. Like, why am I doing this? Why, you know, and if it has anything to do with television or social media, you're going on a different path. You know, my path is here, yours are there, that's fine. You be you. But sometimes we get into a gray area because a lot of these people on TV, it's not a YouTube, it's not like you can call them into your homes. You know what I mean? They're looking for the big iconic places, Stanley Hotel, Eastern State, so forth and so on. You know, you can't just call them and say, help me, you know, because that's not the path they're on. So just be true to yourself, whatever the case.
It really is all about it. It feels like it's all about entertainment now. You know, there's less and less attention on real deal paranormal teams, it seems, these days.
And that's fine.
And that's fine. Yeah, no, that's fine. But when I look at where the path is going, I feel like it's about the thrill. It's about having fun, getting some likes on your YouTube videos. And I just feel like a lot of people, even people who've been doing it a long time, have gone down the road of laziness and just trying to get instant gratification from some of the gadgets that are available now, some of the methods that are have been created along the way. You know, I feel like we're not going to get to the bottom of it because too many people are in a rush to get that video they captured onto a YouTube channel instead of analyzing it and having it peer reviewed and all the things you would do from a scientific background, you know. You know, the first, you know, as soon as I see someone doing a flashlight trick or a spirit box or whatever, the first thing I think is they're not serious. They're in this for gratification, instant gratification. And, you know, that turns me off. And I know that might offend some people.
Because my videos.
One of the things, and not to sound like a curmudgeon, and I'll get off this, but one of the problems I have with this, the root of my problem, is you're doing this on the shoulders of the dead. And not all these people are evil sea captains or demonic beings. You know, they were human beings like us who went through the same travails that we did, the same joys, the same sadness. They're not there for your entertainment pleasure. They're not there to do parlor tricks for you. It's like, tell me how many fingers I have behind my back.
Right.
If I'm a thinking, reasoning spirit who, for whatever reason, has come to reach out to you, I'm going to tell you to F off eventually at some point because I know what you're doing. I know you're testing me. You're asking me to do tricks. You know, what is so hard to believe that someone on the other side just isn't interested in that? You know, but never forget that for all our entertainment, you know, you're doing this to the deceased. They're a prop.
Yeah.
And like I said, not to sound like that guy, but I just come from a different point of view. I don't apologize for it. I don't intend to apologize for it, but that's just where I come from. It's like everybody talks about respect. Oh, your approach is great. I appreciate that. I really do. I don't think about it because that's who I am as a person. Come from respect, have a conversation. So I'm not going to go back and forth on that. You know, that's just my point of view. Sorry.
Right.
I think when you guys are talking about, when we're talking about what does this title of the show mean, I was thinking about it today, and Ken and I have had discussions about this ad nauseum. In my short time in the field, the thing I've learned is there's seems to be this obsession with the celebrity end of it, which is fine. These people are amazing. They've done cool things in the field, but it's starting to override the actual experience of learning about being in the field. And I've talked to Andrea about this as well. I think for me coming into it so late, I'm very lucky that I have fallen under the sort of mentorship of, people like you guys, people like Andrea, spent some time with John Zaffis, because you're all people who were doing this before this was on TV, right? So it's like, I was very lucky because I think there's two ways this goes. You stick on that side because you want to learn about this field and you do respect the spirits and what they stand for and what they can teach us and what we can learn about ourselves in the process. Or you have this other end of it where, you're getting into the social media and the likes and the subscribers. And at the end of the day, that's really about you as an individual, not about them. I'd rather be more about what I can learn from spirit than what I can put out on social media, right? So that for me was kind of where the path went. And I've always sort of had that conversation in my short time is where did it start going so far where it's just about who you're taking pictures of, you don't care about the investigation. You just want to be within 10 feet of insert celebrity name here. And that's fine. I think that's, this field, people have to make money. They have to, but the mindset is the thing I have an issue with.
Well, to Tom's dismay, these next set of videos are spirit box related. Next to, place celebrity name here. But this is one of the trips up to Harrisville, and we decided that we wanted to go out to Bathsheba's gravesite. And in attendance, you'll see here in the video, for the majority of it will be Andrea Perrin and John Zaffis. Ken pokes his head in on a couple of these also. But again, it was clarifying so much of the, I guess, the drama that the films had created, and to just kind of dismay that idea, not to mention the fact that, Ken, how many times was the burial site and the headstone of Bathsheba desecrated?
I can just say
multiple. At least 3, right?
Yeah.
At least 3.
Multiple times, to the point where they had to remove it on request of the descendants, right, Aaron?
I believe so. Yeah, they just had enough of it. So.
And
because of a movie.
Yeah, and all of it happened after the film. So anyway, I've got about 7 of these. I think what we'll do is we'll bounce back and forth, because I know Ken's put some videos in there too, and then we'll go through those and then pop back to some of the ones that I have after that. Some from Payne House, some from Curse City. But this was from Bathsheba's gravesite. They're all very short videos. We'll run through it quick so we don't have to analyze too long. But definitely get your takes, Tom and Aaron. Here we go. This is the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Two more passes, repeat. Full name of Bathsheba and her husband. Tag. Tag.
All right. Here's the next one, titled "It's Crowded in Here Today."
Guys, try and get above the radio noise. Slow, loud, and clear. One more time.
And a good portion of what we were listening to afterwards was that there are many soldiers buried in that area also. So wondered as to whether or not we didn't take that hill was part of it. Next one is John Zaffis reuniting with Bathsheba. I like this one.
Bathsheba, are you here with us? This is John Zaffis. I've been to the house. Hi.
That's her voice.
Very nice hello from Bathsheba. Again, John Zaffis connecting with his uncle, Ed Warren.
So, tell me why you're here. Basement. Ed, we know about the basement. Warren. I know you're here.
And continued on this one. This is the one that's mind-blowing because on our TikTok, this has had almost 500,000 views. But it's a good one, so here we go.
Ed, what is the one thing you want to tell them?
Okay. This one was connecting with Andrea and mimicking her voice.
Bathsheba, say my name in your voice.
Tag.
All right. 2 more left. Here we go.
Bathsheba, there's several people that have been in that house that are right here at your grave. Can you say any of our names?
Tag. I showed my name.
Roll call. And finally, last one, and I'll let Ken go through his also, with a little bit of video of a younger Ken DeCosta. Not young, I don't think Ken's ever been young, but a younger Ken DeCosta. And the sound of a spirit mimicking his voice during that spirit box session. Here we go.
Actually, throughout our history, in times of upheaval and turmoil, it's been shown that people tend to sway more toward the metaphysical and the spiritual, and we live in those type of times, going back to the 19th century with the big, the spiritualist movement.
And again, not to take anything away of what Tom's been saying about, Spirit Box being such an iffy on there. Ken has at least been around me long enough to know that when we've gone out and we've done this, there are certain things that I request. Number one is repetitive response. Don't take it as a one-time thing. I want to hear it over and over again. Second thing we tend to use every time is trigger words, words that you wouldn't normally hear come across the FM or AM bandwidths, and combining those together gives us more of a validation of what it is that we're collecting. But yeah, that was Bathsheba's gravesite. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Ken?
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea that we're asking for some type of repetitiveness. Say my name, say it 3 times, repeat it back to me. And there have been certain instances where I've heard that clearly come through. I look at it like a lot of the equipment that we've used. Like, I don't have much use for, the almighty K2 meter, for example. But I have to tell you, I've seen some remarkable things happen with a K2 meter. We've asked for them to be alternated. Light up the one on the left, light up the one on the right, now the left, now the right, now the left, now the right. Well, that's pretty interesting, So every device out there, I always encourage people, go ahead and use it, experiment with it. By all means, go ahead and do this. A lot of it isn't reliable. I know we have a question in chat about that, but nonetheless, I can't sit in front of you and say that, you know, everything is garbage, because on occasion, yeah, I've seen some pretty crazy stuff happen with this type of equipment. So I don't know if they're getting used to using it, or we're using it the right way, or maybe we're just asking the right questions. It's hard to say.
Yep. All right. You want to do a set of yours right now, Ken?
Yeah, there's a couple I want to break into. I'm actually going to skip ahead because we have Tom on. And I
By the way, who was that handsome young guy sitting next to Ken? He was
yeah, on Brendan's TV show, who's a big star here in Rhode Island now.
Shout out to Brendan Kirby and his old talk show.
Shout out to Brendan Kirby. Yeah, we did skits for that. It's somewhere on the internet. I'm sure you can find it. We had a ball that day. Tom, I'm going back to a certain location in Portsmouth here and a vacuum cleaner. And I know you haven't seen this in about 15 years. So
are you going to bleep this out? I think this needs to be bleeped out.
Yeah. I often talk about having a vacuum cleaner tossed at me on one investigation. And this is way before we had pretty good video equipment. So our apologies in advance. But there are two psychics who are conducting a session. I am standing off to the side, videotaping them. And this vacuum cleaner, apparently, came flying and hit a board next to me. I thought a plank or something had fallen, because you'll see me just like look over like really cool, not get excited. But I thought a board fell. And then, but it wasn't. So we decided to get the psychic back and find out if this particular appliance could be manipulated. And in case we can't talk over it, Tom is sitting on the floor. I am up on a small platform locking this thing in place and shaking it around to make sure that, you know, it functions properly. And then you'll see what happens. So bear with us for the video quality of this, but I couldn't resist the urge to play this while Tom was here.
I have a feeling that if we stayed longer, we might just want the company. But I'm not sure we're going to get anything more out of you. Oh my God in heaven. Oh my God.
To manipulate that again. Can you do that?
Can you show us exactly how you did it? Can you run at it, even just shaking it?
Please.
I'll need some new pants now. Thank you.
Come on.
Well said, Tom.
Yeah, I thought there was an OS word at some point too.
I might have bleeped that. Did you see the woman sitting up? You see the woman sitting on the floor next to you when that thing fell over?
Mm-hmm.
She was just she wanted out.
Yeah.
At that point.
It startled us all. It was almost violent the way it was pushed over. The video doesn't really do it justice. But it was, you know, this is an upright vacuum cleaner that got, you know, if you analyze the video closer as we did, you can see this thing got pushed or somehow manipulated to fall over like that. And I think we axed it a few times. Like, I think it was getting sick of us, if I remember correctly. It was a while ago. It was one of my earliest investigations, to be honest, with Rise Up.
Yeah, that was until we turned the lights on. I don't know what fell, but I mean, you know, you can see like the handle comes over just the way it did. And you may not you see me up there standing with it, but you know, the longer version is I'm up there wrestling, throwing it around, picking it up, slamming it on the floor, locking it, unlocking it, locking it, shaking it.
Mhm.
You know, so everything was functioning right, you know. So anyway, I thought, I know you haven't seen that in a while. So
No.
the other thing I want to play real quick is an apparition. It's an apparition, and I want you to watch for it in this particular video.
We just want everybody to know we're in real time going over here right now. So, can you do this?
What's that? What is that?
Is it upstairs?
I didn't think so.
No, it always upstairs.
Is anybody up here? There's nobody up here, Ken.
Apparition. The apparition was actually the sound.
Oh.
Because a lot of people think that an apparition is a full-formed figure. Like, I know this one of these videos, you expected the girl from Ring to be sitting inside one of the rooms, or the face to pop up. An apparition can be a sound or a smell or something visual. Okay, we think in terms of an apparition as a fully formed figure floating around the room. An apparition can be any of those things that's actually not there. So just, you know, a little lesson for you. And the last one I'm going to play for you is one of my favorite cases, and I'll explain why. But we were in Exeter, Rhode Island, at near the Yagu Valley Ski Resort. In the 60s, there was a horrific train accident where a car full of girls was going over a railroad track, and they didn't have like any gates to keep them out, and they were hit by a high-speed train and taken like a mile and a half down the tracks. It was awful, but there was some things going on out there. So first clip gives you a little background of dislocation.
And then it's gone, and I don't know, but he's experienced a few weird things. Makes it a little inconvenient to have that train going back and forth.
So what happened was, on the property, train goes by pretty regularly, and we took out a tri-field natural meter, and every time that train went by, the needle would spike. Absolutely bury the needle on this every time, because it's on tracks that are charged with electric. And it's only about, as you can see, it's maybe 100 feet from a house. I don't know. I couldn't live there with high-speed trains going by all the time. So she complained of something called spook lights, these little lights that would form and just sort of float around outside her window and so forth. So this is the end of the clip.
And then it's gone, and I don't know, but he's experienced a few weird things. Makes it a little inconvenient to have that train going back and forth.
By again, but it's coming down a track, and you can see that light in the air. So what we figured out, taking soil samples, is that her particular house was built on loam, sand, and peat. which signals that at one point it was a swamp. And they filled it in and they built these houses here, which means the organic matter was being activated by the charge in the air and illuminating. It was because it was a marsh at one point. Spook lights are like, because of the charge, they're negatively and positively charged. So they say they, like, spook lights move in unison. They're not really moving in unison. They're attracting and repelling each other. So as one moves this way, so it was one of my favorite cases because it took a little bit to figure it out, that this is what this woman was seeing. The fog, again, was decaying organic matter. And we dug into the soil and took the samples, and it's just kind of like, you don't have a ghost of the 4 unfortunate souls who were killed there. You're built in the wrong place here. So to me, that's a successful case. So, and that's it. I bring it back to you, George.
That's a debunking right there.
Okay, now you're going to get me started. I was going to say goodbye. Debunking is the most misused. Debunking is exposing fraud or a hoax. Okay, when you figure something out, it's not debunking. It comes from the word bunkum. Bunk. It's bunk. It's garbage. Okay, so I know everybody uses it.
It's one of those words
picking on you,
taking on new meaning. No, you can pick on me. George already hates me about my spirit box comment.
I hate you.
Alternative explanations and everything like that, but it's like, okay.
My final appearance on
my
Full Spectrum.
Ken, while I'm playing these clips now for Aaron and Tom, Aaron put a link in the private chat trying to get this one video, and I have not been able to figure out how to extract it and be able to get it up on our StreamYard here. So I'll leave that to your expertise if you can figure that one out. Back to Tom's favorite spirit box, and this was again, this is a select group of photo. I think this is 5 videos rather, taken at Ken's stomping ground, the Payne House for Rise of Paranormal. And these particular ones here, again, spirit box using the same shack hack. And what was interesting to me in a portion of this is the name Zaphis, very unique name, coming up time and again. Here's that first clip. Can I hear Sarah say your name? Tag that. 3 different times it was said. Let me do that one again, but listen in. Very clear his name was said 3 times. Can I hear Sarah say your name? Tag that. And it's so eventually we called John up there to let him interact since his name was so prominent. So here's the next clip. Now, I hate being redundant and replaying, but this time, don't just listen to what is being said. Listen to the conversation voices, because there's only 2. The guy sounds the same every single time he speaks, and the girl. Again, going across the AM spectrum. So listen again to the tone of the voices. you hear it?
Crazy.
Yeah. Very similar. Very similar. And I apologize in the sequence. Which one is John jumping in here with? It could be this one or the next one. Hang on. The female speaking to us in the 1930. How old are you? Repeat it. Ken, 17-year-old. I'm also was thinking 19, but 17 sounds the most definitive on that first pass on there. 17-year-old in the Payne house?
I mean, at one point, I'm sure. You know, I couldn't pinpoint someone that maybe had passed away at 17.
Okay,
You know,
gotcha.
I know of one of the sisters of the Whipple family who passed away at 19. We heard that a couple of weeks ago. I would now have to check on that and let you know, because that would be fascinating if one of them, because there was a number of families who owned the place as a tavern. So it could easily be someone who passed away there because people did come in there sick and were treated by a doctor, as they tended to do at taverns,
right?
Because of the presence of alcohol as a sterilizing agent, as well as an anesthetic. So I'll look it up. Records are tough to come by, other than the genealogy of the families themselves,
right?
Because records aren't good, but I'd be happy to dig into that.
All right. You guys in the chat, let us know these clips, and then our reactions and explanations to them are eating up time like there's no tomorrow. We've got quite a bit more still to cover. So if you want us to go past the normal time with KGRA, we can extend the show a little bit. Won't take much, but let us know in the chat and then see if you want us to continue past that. I'm going to play that one again also, Ken, because I want you to listen. When she says 17 the first time, the accent sounds French or Creole. Take a listen. The female speaking to us in the 1930. How old are you? Repeat it. Okay, just for your research purposes.
Yeah, I pick up a male there. Anybody else, or just me? Perhaps a southern voice of a young male.
Maybe that's a potential too, but a young male at 17 wouldn't have that. I think his balls would have dropped by then. Maybe, I don't know. All right, here's another one with this one's with Zaffis. This one, here we go.
We mean you no harm. I would just like to know, can you please tell me who is here with us?
Now, very strange that I am at the end, but definitely not as strange as this next one. Aaron, you may remember me playing this last year. It's creepy as hell because this voice repeats what's being said over the spirit box, but cannot discern as to whether or not this was over the spirit box or whether or not this was disembodied. Still creepy as hell.
Creepy.
Any thoughts? Was that
was the most interesting one.
Yeah, disembodied.
The
I
word
don't know.
painful sounded. The word painful sounded disembodied.
Yeah.
It didn't seem like it was even through the spirit box to me.
Right. Agreed.
Do it. Let me one more time to hear that. don't know. Paint house, very active location.
Yeah.
So
Hey, George,
is
I
it fair
did
to
get that.
say? Go ahead, Aaron.
Sorry. I was just gonna say that video I've got is in the list, just so you know that we were talking about
Okay, good.
when you're ready.
And Tom, I know now you've completely converted and you're a true believer in spirit box after those clips, right?
I believe that you believe, George.
Okay.
We'd have to
Fair
do a
enough.
2-hour show on spirit boxes.
Ken, what is the consensus, Ken, in the chat? Do they want us to keep going if we run out of time?
I haven't seen anybody really weigh in on it to this point. I think they were pretty much focused on the clips you were playing at that point.
Okay.
So
we have one extend time, you guys. So yes, some people
do have some questions if you want to get to those, George.
Why don't we do that if we're going to extend, and let's do it.
Okay, so David Fritz, specific George, what do you look for in a video someone presents to you?
I'll tell you, really, David, I can't honestly say as many things that I have seen over the years. It's very difficult, again, from video evidence, from photographic evidence, to be able to get the full sensation of it. I think, again, as I've said in the past, when I experience that or I see that somebody presents this to me, this is what piques my interest to want to go to that location and see whether or not I can duplicate that, to see whether or not I could capture the same thing that others have. So is it a motivator? Absolutely. But to be able to look at something, again, in the way that society is and social media is right now, you get something that is so definitive, then you start to wonder whether or not there is some artwork being involved with regards to it also. That's the hard part to this field, is finding the believability in it. Unless you know somebody so well. Case in point, Ken DeCosta calls me up and says, "You won't believe what happened. Tom Stewart was levitating off the floor and his head was spinning." I'm going to
True
believe
story.
Ken. I'm going to believe him. Do I still want to see it myself? Absolutely. But not to discredit him or not to, debunk it and all this other kind of stuff, because I'm looking at it, through, again, as I've said 2 weeks ago, through two dimensions, through a computer screen or through, even my television is not going to do it justice. I need to be able to get my feet wet, doing exactly the same thing, trying to get the same result. That's my answer to that, David.
Yeah, to me, it's what I'm not looking for. It's like, why the hell are you focusing your camera on the coffee table again?
Yeah.
That doesn't seem like a normal thing. I'm going to take a video of my coffee table.
Yeah,
So
those are pretty telling. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, who does that? So, to me, it's what I'm not looking for. But I think the other thing that you have to realize, and we've heard so much of this for the past month, it's like, where's the video? Where's the video? Where's the video? Ladies and gentlemen, nobody, I don't think, although, we may be too old for this game, but nobody wakes up with a camera up their ass every day from the time they open their eyes and follows them around in the course of the day. Sometimes you have the video going, sometimes you don't. And if you're out there saying, well, I need someone taking a video of you taking a video and a video of the person who's taking a video of you taking a video of, let's be a little realistic. Jeff McGarvey, maybe an episode focused on vetting clients and evidence would be a good idea. It's a good suggestion, Jeff. I have a manual written on this kind of stuff, but maybe that sounds more like a standalone video, which, we may want to do one day because it gets kind of into the weeds a little bit. Not like an entertaining YouTube show, because you can really start getting into some things.
Yeah, that's a specific audience when you start pulling out questionnaires and
Right. What would you do if you get the holy grail of paranormal evidence? I guess that depends on what you think the Holy Grail is. What do you think the Holy Grail is, Aaron? What is your Holy Grail of paranormal evidence? Forget your belief or non-belief. I guess Sarah's asking about evidence.
I don't know. And I say that because I've seen so much in my short time, especially at that house, a little of everything, that I don't know that I have one anymore. Is that a fair answer? Because I've seen full-bodied apparitions. I've heard things. I've seen things. I've been with Cody and Satori. I mean, I've all of those things, while all new to me, all hold equal weight in the experience and in the moment itself. So I don't know that I would actually have a Holy Grail, because they're all just fascinating, as equally as important to me. They're just different experiences each time. But I also don't have the catalog of experiences that you guys have. So, you know, I probably have 10 to 15 major experiences in my last 2 years, but you guys have thousands. Right. So everything to me is sort of the Holy Grail, I guess, right now. You know, it's like heard a voice. Ooh, you know, saw an apparition. Ooh, you know, I don't.
Tom, what do you think the Holy Grail is, and why can't it be video?
Right.
I don't know if there will ever be a Holy Grail.
It obviously can't be video, Tom.
It can't be
Right.
video. It has to be something that can be personally experienced. I think the Holy Grail would be a case study, a long, dragged out case study with scientific methods that is peer reviewed, and there are things that you can show that just are indisputable. You know, things that happen more than once to different people. It's a controlled environment, and those things are very, very difficult to do in the majority of the haunted locations. So I think a Holy Grail is going to be really hard. It'd be like trying to prove, I mean, until our scientific knowledge gets better when it comes to whatever this is that's happening to us, I don't think there'll ever be a Holy Grail.
I think as far as video, I go with Mitch Hedberg, who said that it's not that people take blurry videos of Bigfoot. Bigfoot is blurry.
He might be onto something there.
Bigfoot himself is blurry. It's not blurry video.
And he might be on, if you think about it, if it's a dimensional thing that we're witnessing, it could be blurry at times, So he may be onto something.
George, what's the Holy Grail to you? You like Michael J. Fox and the Frighteners, where you just have them follow you around to different places, to diners and stuff?
It could be in that ideology, but it would have to be in the category of a repetitive haunt at a location, or a process, a technique that provides that. We can go down that rabbit hole if we wanted to. Piece of equipment that will create that scenario on a consistent basis, which, to all of us really hasn't been invented yet. So, I mean, it's any of those variables, so long as there is consistency in what it is that is being experienced. When it's a one-time shot, did you guys see that? No, I didn't have my camera on. It's a missed opportunity. Well, you should have seen what I saw, because it was a full body apparition, or I heard these voices, or this or that. But to get it going repetitively over and over again, that to me is the Holy Grail, that you can go back at any time and achieve the same results that you're looking for.
We'll have to get into that someday, because I don't think that's possible. But
not yet. Yeah, we are 3 minutes away from the end of the KGRA episode. Anybody that wants to stick with us as we continue to play this evidence, you can go to YouTube, Dead Air Full Spectrum, and just click in on tonight's show to be able to follow us after 3 minutes from now. So I'm sorry, Ken, go ahead.
All right, Donna Willis wants to know, if you were offered a show on television, what would you do differently? Been offered a show on television. I still have the teaser clip for it. We just didn't have the personalities that they were looking for.
That's
so you read in between those lines, Donna. I mean, I understand nobody wants to watch me sitting in a library, with apologies to our friend Steve DeShavi. Nobody wants to see that. Okay, you've got to do a show at 80 miles an hour. They don't want research. I mean, you got to get to the money shots on these things. So we just didn't have the personality for it. You know, I'm not a screamer. You know, and I don't think any of the women in our group wanted to be that and be the damsel in distress or ghost bait or all of the tropes. Best way to put it, all of the tropes you see.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't. Well, how would I change it? It would be real, but real is dull. So,
yep.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if Oh, Jonathan, if you were offered a television show,
I have some
what
good
approach
ideas.
would you take to stand apart? Love your podcast. We love you too, Donna. Again, realism. How do you stand apart? You stand apart by doing an investigation, at the end of it saying, we didn't get anything. It was a quiet night. You know. God. And hello? That would I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's see. Jeremy Powers asked about equipment that you think is gimmicky. To rephrase, is there any technology gear you would all consider reliable, or most of it experimentation? For me personally, Jeremy, those little Panasonic skinny recorders, I think that's a gimmick to me. That's probably not fair. I just don't think it's a good piece of equipment. The sampling rate is terrible. Brand new. Would they sell for like $19.95 in the 80s? The sampling rate is
that the DR60 you're talking about?
Yeah, whatever the D60,
DR60,
whatever,
something or other. Yeah.
Constantino's used it, and I know they use it on Kindred Spirits, and Zach Bagans uses it, and everybody uses it. So maybe it's not a gimmick, but it's just not a very good piece. Everything comes out, and you can make whatever you want out of that. I prefer actual monosyllabic words, not just yes, no, I come back into earth and spirit to tell you,
Did I hear a growl? Was that a growl?
That's my message to everybody.
Growl. All right.
Anyway.
All right. For those of you that are just coming over from KGRA, and thank you, Bill Forte, and everything that you do for us as our producer with KGRA. Those of you who've jumped over to us here on Data Full Spectrum, welcome. And we'll continue on. We've got more video that we want to get to also. We're going to take a trip here to Florida and I'm only doing this to torture Erin Bush. We're going to go to Curse City now. And she's wanted to go there forever. The previous owners passed on, and the property was passed on to the daughter who lives in Hudson Valley, New York, and trying to get in there now. I've tried to reach anybody to possibly get in there. I know you took a road trip out there, and that was kind of freaky for you.
Yeah, and I won't be going back. I'm good on that. I pulled in the street, saw what I saw in the woods, and said, nope, I'm out of here. So you're on your own. If they let you back in, I will enjoy it virtually from here, but I'm not going to Curse City. No way. No thanks.
Curse City is extremely dark. It didn't start out that way. It started out pretty neat, but just disrespect from investigators who went out there and treated the property like their own little entertainment campsite, and almost burnt down the father's house, smoking inside. And I was a smoker at the time. I'd never smoke inside, but that's how they handled it. Anyway, so we'll start off with this particular clip. This was out at the cemetery, which is just overgrown and dilapidated. There's no care to it whatsoever. And one of the subjects in the stories that we dealt with was Alana. And as we're going out there, you're going to hear an EVP. So these are EVPs, Tom, instead of Spirit Box. So I'm sure it'll make you happy.
I love EVPs.
Here is
Can't get enough.
yeah. You'll hear a voice. You'll hear my voice, and at the end, you'll hear the other gentleman's voice that was with me. But you'll hear another male voice in between. So take a listen. Sort of. If you come up to me, more likely to jump up. You don't have to even touch it. Just come close to me. They're everywhere.
Yeah, this is
There's no discernible order. Okay.
Yep.
Anybody want that again, or that was clear?
Definitely heard it.
Oh, I thought
Yes,
it was
please.
pretty clear.
Okay.
It was clear.
Sounded
Can you play it
close,
again anyway?
I'll
Yeah.
play one more
Yeah.
time. Sort of. If you come up to me, more likely to jump up. You don't have to even touch it. Just come close to me. They're everywhere.
Yeah, this is
There's no discernible order. The next one is my favorite. Again, this is maybe the second or third. I gone out there 18 times. The first 14 times were over 8 years, and then once every year after that, I think, for 4 years. It got dark. But this was when it was still lighter. And if you ever wanted to hear what Michael Jackson sounded like as a spirit, you are about to. It was myself, this female investigator, Jackie, and Bob Beck, whose voice tone is lower than mine. And you'll hear this other voice in between. I may have to play this twice for you, but here you go.
All right, I'm gonna hook this back under my pants.
Fuck you. Get in my way.
All right, I'll play it again.
All right, I'm gonna hook this back under my pants.
Fuck you. Get in my way.
Michael Jackson or Napoleon Dynamite, one of the two.
Michael Jackson in Florida. Yeah, which is on our way walking to the cemetery. And you hear Jackie saying, I'm going to put this, hook this back on my pants. And then you hear him afterwards. So pretty interesting. This one here, probably one of my favorites because it fit the narrative of what had happened at the post office. Sensitives, Nancy Matz, who used to be always with us here on Dead Air, psychic medium out of Arizona. But we caught enough evidence over the years to discover that there was a double homicide at the post office. Alana, whose name you heard, who was a nurse who lived on the second floor of the post office, but was sleeping downstairs because her boyfriend / lover's room was in the back, where we eventually deemed the dark room, and was murdered. And when we decided that we were going to go and investigate this more, I was with a bunch of my guys from Port Orange Paranormal Society, and this is what we captured.
Did you stab somebody? Whoa.
Whoa. Do you guys hear that? Is that Dustin? Do you guys hear that?
Yeah. That voice?
Dustin! Was that you?
No, that was closer.
And that whole wall was just splattered with blood, the entire side. And then to get that confession at the same time. To this day, we don't know the murderer's name. He won't fully reveal himself other than in shadow form.
It sounded like Michael Jackson again, a little bit.
It could be. Following us everywhere. And finally, in this set of clips, because I don't know what Ken needs to play next on here, but in this set of clips, this is Ken's favorite. out of this set at Kerr City, without
It
question,
is.
and most people out there. Rachel Hairplay. Here we go.
I know you've told Jeff to get out. You didn't want him in here. You didn't want the boys in here. Do you think they're disrespectful to you?
Again, if you missed it, look at the side of her hair on this side just get pulled away from her neck. And, you know, we always talk about the fact that she moves her thumb just before. Still will not create that situation by any aspect whatsoever. But take a look again. Hair that is coming down onto her shoulder on the left side. Right side if you're looking at the screen.
I know you've told Jeff to get out. You didn't want him in here. You didn't want the boys in here. Do you think they're disrespectful to you?
See that? Look at Everett's face. Oh, no.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think there was an EVP capture with it also, but I could not find it for the life of me. Again, these are quite a few years old. Again, not looking for, and this is what we talked about with the kids, Cody Satori, years of doing this and not looking for the notoriety, not looking for the fame, just simply doing good investigating, collecting your evidence, and trying to find the narrative, the story behind what was going on. So your thoughts on Kerr City, Aaron, Tom?
It looks like an interesting place. I'll pack my bags now. Let's go.
It's darker. It's creepier now. That's
Yeah.
That's the place where I began my unfortunate oppression attacks by going to that place and doing things I shouldn't have been doing in the name of pseudoscience and asking, show me where you came from. And I mean, everything went from there. Ken, what have you got to display now, sir?
Well, I'm going to preface, and maybe this is a good kind of closing thought. We'll see. But we're talking about this today, and I think I was talking to Aaron about it, possibly you. The idea of crossing spirits over. And I wanted to hit on this before we got out of there. And I'll just give you a couple of quick thoughts. My initial thought is, who are we to think that they want to go? It seems to be like the antidote for everything. You know, people claim that it has a specialty that, you know, I cross spirits over. That's my thing. To which I guess we're assuming they don't want to be here. So it's an interesting kind of dynamic, because I think we've seen more and more through, you know, our own research, our own evidence. You know, let's leave the paranormal couple out of this. Just from our own evidence, that there is free will involved in spirits. I kind of ascribe to the Hans Holzer theory that ghosts are more the residual things. You see the woman walking through a wall, pays no attention to you. You're in a time slip. Where spirits can come and go in visitation. They have free will. And I don't know for sure, perhaps there are instances where someone's confused, because we love theories. In lieu of an honest answer, a conclusion, we give theories. You know, traumatic death is so instantaneous that the spirit is in turmoil and is confused and still think that they're alive. I mean, who's the arbiter of that? How did we get to that point? I mean, is this like a medium who spoke through the spirits? I'm not so sure of that, because I think the idea of someone being stuck, confused, or someone who did something terrible that doesn't want to go because they don't want to be judged. Maybe. I think that those things are rarer than we're led to believe, because I think for the most part, spirits have free will. So I would say, under what circumstances is anybody being crossed over? Because it seems like people are constantly doing this and talking about it. And who the hell are we to determine whether a spirit wants to be crossed over or not? So I kind of want to get into that a little bit, because I just don't think it's as widespread as people would have us imagine. How many investigators go into a place and ask a spirit, "Are you in any kind of despair? Are you in any kind of difficulty? Would you like me to pray for you?" Something as simple as that. Do you need help? They're not many. It's usually move this, move that, make a sound, do a trick, but you're not connecting to them on that human level. And as far as I know, in my experience, for the most part, spirits have free will. They're here if they're called on, whether it's to give a message or come in visitation to a place they're attached to. So, not saying, painting with a wide brush, that there aren't instances that those kind of things happen, but it's, Android, I get it all the time. If I ask someone, "What do you want from us?" and they'll say, "I want it gone." Like, I can't make a spirit go. What do I do? Ask him nicely, order him to, scream at the top of my lungs, burn some vegetables. I don't know how exactly I can address that. Am I supposed to go get a specialist in the field of crossing over? I mean, Aaron, you're probably the best to answer this type of thing. So I'm going to ask you for your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think this is one of those conversations that can get people riled up, I think, on different levels. I know for me as a sensitive, like, I don't do reading. Yeah, exactly. I don't do readings for people. I mean, I would pick up on things. I pick up on spirits, but I agree with you that it's who are we to decide? I agree with the notion that if a spirit is, was terrible in life, that maybe they're afraid of, if they do go, where they're going to end up. So again, stuck by choice, right? I know if that were an option for me, I would decline, because I think you're now getting into playing God, sort of, for lack of a better phrase. And I don't think that would be up to me to do that for any spirit. I think, like you said, it's a free will situation. Why they're quote unquote stuck, or why they haven't moved on, or why they stay is individual, just as it would have been where they lived on Earth. So I think free will is definitely the thing, and it's not up to us to make the decision of where a spirit does or doesn't end up.
There's a comment here from Android again. You guys have not seen any effectiveness from sage and holy water, not for crossing over, pushing it on the property. Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong, but those things are not meant to get rid of an entity. It's to
Bingo. Clear energy,
lighten the energy, right? Or
big misconception with sage, and I see it all the time, is that sage banishes an entity. No, it doesn't do anything. It just like, I use it in energy work to clear energy from a person's field or their chakra system or whatever, but it does not remove a spirit. I'm not as familiar with holy water, despite 12 years of Catholic school, but the sage and, Palo Santo and those things, those aren't going to get rid of an entity. It's just going to kind of clear your energetic space that's around you. That's about it.
Tom, we hear a lot of this. We've heard a lot of it over the years, crossing over. I can't speak to how widespread it is or how common it is or anything like that, but I'm just speaking of my own experience. I wouldn't know the first thing about doing it, and I've had people say, this is what I want you to do, and I'm always hesitant to recommend someone who has said they've done it before, and because I just don't know how that's going to turn out. I mean, what if it fails? I mean, I don't want that phone call back. The person I recommended is lousy. It didn't work. It made it worse, and that's a tough place to be in.
Yeah, we've had a few situations where we kind of did a little, mind over matter, and just try to do something that would
Yes.
help them convince themselves that it's gone. Whether it's, encouraging them to communicate to the spirit that they no longer want them there, and to kindly ask them to leave or to not disrupt their lives anymore. And we've done things from, blow out this candle and ask it to leave and it'll be gone, and things like that. And none of it has any real evidence or substance to it. I do believe that there's a lot of energy involved here. There is some free will, but I just feel like there's so many things happening at once that from a scientific perspective we don't understand. And hopefully someday we will. But where the energy goes is another dimension. Is it something inside of us? Is it both of those things? Is there a certain way our thinking has to be, or our psyche has to be, in order to hear them trying to reach out to us? Or are they just choosing when they want to? There's so many questions that just can't be answered because we just haven't reached that level yet. And that's just how I've always looked at it. I mean, the idea of crossing over is not new. That's been going on since the Egyptians and before that. Every person on this planet has had their own idea of people are crossing over into another life, into another realm, or being reincarnated. Oh,
Sorry.
was that the ghost?
That was spirits.
Was that Sarah checking in? If she has something to say, she can.
Yeah.
She would know better than any of us. That's just where I look at it from. I'm a believer in clearing your energy, clearing your mind, your thoughts, meditation, things like that. I've always found that when we want to have better luck with EVPs, it's good if you have less people in the room, if you have people very focused on the idea of what you're doing, things like that. So, maybe there's a little bit of a lot of things involved here, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Yep. I agree.
I mean, it's the power of suggestion. I think a good portion of it, isn't it? Is it any different than those people who do protection prayers prior to an investigation, or if they're getting freaked out during an investigation, they clutch their rosary beads, and that gives them that strength, that will, that energy. And it could be the difference between a receptive energy and a projective energy. And the same thing that you're doing, Tom, with blowing out the candle and sending them on their way. If their mindset is in that belief form that you're going to go, that energy is going to project it as such, and at least cause a distance between them and whatever they're experiencing. Mind over matter.
It's intention too.
Yep.
Everything's
Exactly.
intention at the end of the day.
I think on that
Because that's
particular
energy too.
case, it was an excellent choice to do that.
Yep.
Because of the age of the person that was involved, because there was too much acceptance going on in that house of this, that somebody need to intercede in that, because a young girl was picking this stuff up. It was a household where it was openly discussed, and that can be very influential on a child for sometimes all the wrong reasons. So there's a longer story to it, but that's the choice that was made and worked out great. So, at the end of the day, that's what matters. So yeah, I mean, I pretty much come to the end of this. I just wanted to, touch on that. There were other things like can pets see ghosts and stuff like that.
Well, that's another episode. Don't get me
Yeah,
started.
We'll have to get an animal behavioral specialist on here, for that type of thing. But I mean,
Do you want to play that last?
Again, it comes.
Oh yeah, play Erin's clip. Erin's got a clip.
So
Yeah,
again, it
we've
comes
got
by the theme of it, like the path that you choose, can be one where you have one foot in the real world. I think that's the best way to be. You have one foot in the real world and still entertain that spiritual afterlife, sort of thing, and stay grounded for the people who are on the other side, because I think they appreciate it.
Agreed.
Because this was a life that they left, maybe in a different era, maybe in a different time. But nonetheless, I keep coming back to the idea they were human beings, treat them like human beings.
Yep.
I think that's extreme. Everybody, I'm just going to say it, we saw that on the series of videos that we saw, and so many comments made on what Cody and Satori are doing. If they would have done this, if they would have done that, and they should, how come they didn't want to do this or that? And we said it 2 weeks ago. People need to understand, in this particular method, they serve at the pleasure of the spirits. And like any sentient human being or life form, when you think you're being appropriated or compromised, you're going to take a stand eventually, even if it's gracefully. You're just going to politely say, no, I'm not interested in how many fingers you got behind your back or doing any of these tricks, I'm speaking to you. What more do you want? What more do you want? Apparently, we want a lot more. So
exactly.
I wish we got everything we wanted in this field, but we don't. Sorry.
We've got a particular video that Aaron was kind enough to download and send for us. Bill Forte helped make this a reality. But I think I'm gonna throw Aaron for a loop as we watch this. And where's this location, Aaron?
May or may not be at the Conjuring House. It's a public video too. It's out there. Ken played it, I think, already in Andrea's pre-record that we did, maybe, or somewhere. I think I've seen it, but it was in.
Maybe.
You want me to set it up or play it and then explain after?
No, go ahead. It's your video.
Yeah, go ahead. You kind of delayed there for a second. It sounded like you belched, but go ahead.
Well, it's probably because there's a certain spirit that every time I discuss the farm tends to screw up my tech. So we were up there for Halloween, and we had a scheduled investigation for the night that canceled. They couldn't show up. So empty house, and I was leaving to drive back to Florida the next day. So I was doing laundry, right? And the laundry room is in the parlor area. And so I went in, put my stuff in the washer, set my timer to come back. I walked back in, and the door to the primitive oven is open. And it's latched. So we went back the next morning, pulled the security up, and you'll see in the video, but I'll explain it. On this primitive oven is a cabinet door. On that door is a round metal piece with a horizontal latch to keep this door shut. Now, Ken's probably opened this door a million times. It's not one that you just barely flip this little bar and it just pops open. You have to it does pop open, but what you have to kind of finagle the latch to open it in the first place, right? It's not something you just flip and it goes. So that's what this is.
Okay, here we go. Yep.
Wow, there's no build.
And I'll see you, Aaron. I'll raise the Myrtle's plantation.
It's getting late. Everybody's having a hard time settling. There's a green light over there on the stairs.
That's awesome.
I love it.
I love it.
All right, Ken, pull up.
Tom would be running to that with a level.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
All kinds of equipment. Ken,
Everything's
pull up
possible.
the door at Belcourt Castle. Let's trump them all.
Oh, I don't have it.
Is that the shaking one?
Yeah, no, that's the one that opened at 3 in the morning when nobody was there. And, yeah.
The very large, heavy wooden door that opened on its own.
God dang it, man. That place is unbelievable. But if you think that latches at the Conjuring House, if you think that was a one-off, check this out.
You're playing with the door handle?
The latches in that house.
There's nobody on the other side of the door, and you hear the latches going off on the door. Julie's approaching it with caution. So I'm sorry I didn't have a camera on me that night, but when Cody and Story came for dinner, Cody can pull up security cameras on his phone because he's the caretaker there. So I asked him for the date and the time to find out if anybody was behind that door and what the gift shop is.
Yeah.
Pulled up security video on his phone. At that time, nobody was in that room.
Yeah.
Okay, what am I doing? I'm supposed to say now, trust me, right? Okay.
You're right. Yeah.
And can I just say, my visit to the Conjuring House, that same exact door, that same exact latch was jiggling. We were all kind of in that main room there. And I'm looking at it thinking someone was on the other side trying to get in. You know, probably some young person doesn't know how that kind of a latch works. And Cody saw me looking at it, and then he heard it. And so then we both went over to check it out. There was nobody on the other side of the door. And then, like you said, Ken, he punched up the security camera on his phone so we could see if anybody was on the other side, and there wasn't. But that was, hadn't even been there 20 minutes, and that latch started jiggling while I was standing there. And I'm like, well, okay, this is welcome to the Conjuring House.
Well, I always say, you know, we were all born at night. We weren't born last night when it comes to this stuff. You know, believe it or not, we do check it out.
Have to.
It's an amazing place.
Ken, if you'll indulge me, the only reason why is I told you I spent the entire day hunting down these pieces of evidence and loading them up and doing whatever editing I needed to do. And I would just like to whip through these few real quick, if you don't mind, and just be done with it. This goes back to Tom's favorite piece of equipment again. This is a spirit box session near the Huguenot Cemetery in Aaron's backyard, St. Augustine. And these are two of the tour guides that were already done with their shift at 11 o'clock, came out to sit with me by the cemetery and run this spirit box session. This is really quick. All right, the woman who says, I have something to say, you came across strong. Can you come across first to say St. Augustine, and we'll get your question in. St. Augustine.
Oh! You are great! You are great! Okay. All right.
And these last ones here are all inside the old jail. We were given access by Dave Chatterton and the powers that be. They brought a new piece of equipment, a ghost box, and just basically asked if I could repeat what we did 10 years earlier with the We Were Only 8 and some of the other communication. So these two are pretty cool. Here we go.
There's a question I have to ask. I was here 8 years ago,
and there was somebody's voice that I captured, and there was something specific that they said. If what I believe is true about collective consciousness, I want you to repeat back what it is that was said that I captured. Repeat it 3 times, please, over and over. Say it. Oh! Oh my God! Thank you.
Apologies. I raised the volume and it just distorted the hell out of it. I'll have to post it up again. Here we go.
How many are here with you? Say how many. Give me a number. How many are here with you? Repeat the number.
Well, yeah. Repeat it again. 12 men.
Did we say 12 men?
Yep, the same voice and the only voice that came across answering that question. Again, this is a phenomenal location, the old jail. Erin can testify. She doesn't like it, but
I
it's
hate
a
that
really good
place.
place. Yeah.
I hate it a lot. I hate it a lot. I can sleep at the Conjuring House from now until I die, and I will not go back into that jail.
Yep. And a play on it too is the Frank's box, which we used years ago doing a session with Rolling Hills Asylum owner Sharon Coyle, and I'll just play 2 of the clips of team member Amanda. And those of you who remember, we spoke about her before. She passed 10 years ago last month, and has shown up time and again, almost as if she's an additional spirit guide. But the first one you hear is just her running up at the Rolling Hills Asylum to the Frank's box to interact with Sharon, as Sharon's trying to acknowledge who actually had shown up there. Here you go.
Is Amanda or Gabriel, Colette or Michael available, please?
Okay. And this one here is the hardest one to hear, but Amanda realizing she's at a asylum, and you kind of hear her say the realization of it and almost hear the tears of the sniffling. Here you go.
Can you try Joey get Joy or Emma or Elizabeth?
So really amazing stuff when we did that session there. But Ken, I'm done. I'm not going to go anymore with that. If there's anything else that you had to play also, sir, please feel free.
That's fine. There are a couple here that I'm going to end with this one because I spent some work on it zooming in. Every once in a while, and I know I talked a lot about putting on a show, but every once in a while, a conversation leads to something. And one conversation at a mill here in Rhode Island led to a question for the other side. As far as this moving stuff around, we asked this particular spirit, do you ever move anything here? Because some of the claims were things moving, and he said, yeah, I moved a newspaper once. Oh, well, I'll tell you what, we're going to put this piece of paper on this table, shape it like a tent, make it real easy, get it to stand up. We're going to leave the room and we're going to put a camera on it. So you feel free, if you can, and you're capable and willing to do it, you go ahead and move that paper. So the clip here is of that piece of paper with a camera on it, K2 meter next to it, which starts to spike, and I'll let you see what happened. Right in the center.
Yep.
Okay, the really interesting thing about that is it wasn't airflow, wasn't air conditioning or anything like that, because it didn't move side to side, it didn't lift. You actually compressed it as though putting a hand on it. And I thought that that was the thing that grabbed me about it. This was 37 seconds after we left the room, after we asked him to do it. Tom, you were there. And left a camera on it. So, like I say, once in a while you get lucky, folks. You don't get everything on video, but sometimes you take a shot. And we do our best. I mean, we work with 6 or 8 different cameras. Yeah, I'm not going to go into all the stuff that goes into an investigation with us, but every once in a while you do catch something. And that was a case where, you know, some air current didn't lift it, because this is a case where it was compressed and pressed down. So,
and the K2 meter at the same time.
Yeah.
And the meter never went off any other time, but at the exact moment that the paper was being pushed down on.
Joseph was saying he saw something move. Joe, just look in the center of your screen, right next to the
slight,
K2 meter.
but you can see it.
Yeah, I mean, right pretty much in the center of that screen, the meter lights up, and then you'll see that paper just depress as though pushed down. So, pretty cool.
Yep.
So it's what I mean by, if you're going to do something with spirits, ask their permission, find out if they've done it before, if they're willing to do it. If not, leave it alone, because you don't want to ruin whatever relationship you may be building with them by asking them about their family, their jobs, if they're happy, if they're in any kind of distress. And then once you gain their trust, you know, go ask them to do a trick for you. I mean, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
It has always seemed, and I think Ken and I have always been in agreement on this, it has always seemed, when you simply have a conversation with them, just talk to them, what a difference it is, as opposed to, tell me your name, you know, tell me when you died. And, you know, you just have a conversation with them. Talk about your day. Maybe they'll respond back at that point in time. But you know, again, it's no different than if you meet a stranger, and how you approach that stranger makes a difference in how the response occurs. So, you know, can there be nasty spirits? Well, yeah, especially when investigators are nasty as well. You get what you give. So, you know, keep that always in mind. If
Yeah, don't immediately come out of the gate with, "Did you die here?" I mean,
yeah.
Right.
How about, did you live here? And how did you live? And family, and you know, you can go so many ways.
How about something as simple as, instead of "Did you have children?" Do you have children? Speak in the present tense and not, matter of fact, they're here right now. You know, because we've learned that too. You know, a lot of happy endings to those stories.
Indeed, there is.
You know, speak in the present tense, because they're still living a life.
Whether you know it or not.
But they're still living a life.
Yeah.
We've been told at the farm, we have to stop talking to you now. We have to go back to work, or we have to tuck the kids in, or like, so they're still, you know, farming and doing all those things. You know, Abigail was probably making dinner, so they're still living a life over there, which is pretty cool to think about.
Right. Right. Exactly.
And we also have a life to live, especially Ken, still in the midst of moving and investing in Tylenol, just trying to recuperate. But we've gone.
I smell like a tube of Bengay right now.
Oh, good God. But yeah, we went over 40 minutes. We hope that you guys enjoyed the show. We certainly enjoyed presenting it for you. I know we've got some interesting upcoming shows coming your way of a different ilk, a different topic. But we're so looking forward to seeing you guys again here next week. I want to go ahead and thank Aaron and Tom for taking their Sunday night to join us tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed looking at the evidence and the topics we brought up this evening.
Always. Thank you for having
Thanks
me.
for having me.
Oh, thank you guys so much. Thank you. All right, that does it for us, guys. Don't forget, guys, again, if you can, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click on the reminder bell for upcoming content. On behalf of Ken DeCosta, my name is George Lopez. Thank you guys for watching, and we will see you again next week. Until then,
Good night.
Take care.